Our next storm system is pulling out of the Rockies, and it's already producing heavy snow across Nebraska and Kansas Tuesday night. And with that system comes winter storm warnings, watches, and advisories from Colorado all the way to the northeast into Wisconsin and Michigan. And as that system rotates through our region, some areas could see snowfall rates of 1 to 3 inches an hour and could also see a little bit of gusty winds associated with it as well. Hello, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner from Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. And yes, here comes the next storm system across South Dakota, southern parts of Minnesota, working in late Wednesday, and most of the snow, a big bulk of the snow where the heavy amounts are going to fall, look like it's going to occur through the overnight hours Wednesday night. But with that said, you might get some of those areas where you're not going to see much snow, and then all of a sudden, bam, all of a sudden it's going to be dumping like you wouldn't believe. So let's go ahead and get right into those models. So here we are at 9 a.m. Central Time, Wednesday morning, and you can see that snow just making its way into the southern portions of South Dakota by this time, but really the heavier stuff remains down to the south and into Nebraska still. And it's not really until we get closer to that noon hour and just a little bit later until we get some of that heavier stuff, some of that moderate type of snowfall that just begins to work its way into South Dakota by that time. And really, still by 3 p.m., we've got some of that moderate stuff that just is hanging just in the far southern edge of South Dakota, with some of the little bit more light to moderate stuff just making its way a little bit further north by that time. But still, the real strong stuff, the real heavy stuff, doesn't quite make it in just yet. It looks like it's going to be closer to about 6 or 7 p.m. by the time that moderate to heavy stuff really works its way into the Sioux City, Yankton area down in the far southeastern parts of South Dakota. And it's just a matter of how far north will that northern edge of this band really get. Now you can see the bulk of the real heavy stuff still remains south of our region, but how far north will some of this make it? Will it make it into the Sioux Falls area or not? It seems like as the models continue to come in within every run, some of this moves just a little bit further north than the previous run did. So I think it looks like some of that's going to make it maybe just into the Sioux Falls area as we get into the nighttime hours. Now, as we get closer to about 9 p.m. here, and then certainly going up into midnight, look at this, how that moderate snow really works its way into southeastern parts of Minnesota. So you areas down around Albert Lee and Rochester, possibly Fairmont as well. Looks like you're going to be getting a good shot of snow through the overnight hours. By midnight, certainly it's going to be over you guys there. Further back to the south and west at this midnight time frame, we're still looking at some light to moderate snowfall here in southeastern parts of South Dakota. But as we push this along to about 3 a.m. Central Time, you can see that snow begins to taper off into southeastern parts of South Dakota. But we're still left with the light to moderate snow here in southeast central parts of Minnesota, and that could include that Twin Cities area by that 3 a.m. time frame. And then pushing this to 6 a.m., it looks like by that point, at least the more moderate stuff has now moved to the north, maybe just creeping up to that Duluth Superior area by that time. And then after that, that more moderate snow kind of pushes off to the east and more so into Wisconsin and into Michigan. Then as we get to noon on Thursday, we're still left with some snow across eastern portions of Minnesota that could, of course, add to some of the accumulations that will already be there. So as that heavier stuff moves to the north and east through the morning hours on Thursday, a little bit of light snow going into the afternoon that'll just kind of add a few more inches. And then as we get into the evening hours, Thursday evening, it looks like most of the snow really begins to wrap up and move on out as we get into the overnight hours, Thursday night and Friday morning. And so here's what I'm thinking of at this point for snow accumulation wise. So you guys here in the green, we're looking at a trace to about 3 inches here. So that's going to include Ely and possibly Bemidji, possibly Fargo as well, just kind of maybe creep into Aberdeen. And then this area in blue here, we're looking at 3 to 6 inches. Now, notice how tight that gradient is here as we get to the pier and Sioux Falls and Watertown and Huron area. And so within that, and notice we've got the yellow lines here and the arrows. This is my most uncertain zone. So if that storm system moves just a little bit further to the north, obviously that's going to shift some of this heavier snow further to the north as well. And so some of you, particularly Sioux Falls, could see just a little bit more snow than what's forecasted here. As you can see here, we've got Sioux Falls, Fairmont, Rochester in that 6 to 10 inches. Twin Cities just kind of borderlining that 6 inch mark at this point is what we're kind of calling it for now. But again, if that storm system shifts one way or another, here's kind of the uncertain zone. And of course, that's going to make a big difference for some of you. So keep that in mind as we look at this system as it moves through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. These are kind of the main areas that I'm concerned about in the southern portions of South Dakota, Minnesota as well. But we'll have to keep an eye and just see how that system tracks. And so you areas in the purple here right now is a winter weather advisory, and that starts at 6 a.m. Wednesday morning, and that goes till about midnight Wednesday night here. And I kind of think some of you areas in this purple, this is going to be pulled just a little bit further north. I think some of this pink area is going to get pulled just a little bit further north as well. This pink area is a winter storm warning, and that's valid from around noon Wednesday until 6 a.m. Thursday morning. And once again, I wouldn't be surprised if that winter storm warning gets pulled just a little bit further north, just because some of that snow might make it just a tad further north, particularly that heavier snow. And so I think maybe some of you areas there could see that winter weather advisory switch over to a winter storm warning. For those of you in the yellow here, we've got a winter storm watch, and that's valid from 6 p.m. on Wednesday until noon on Thursday. And once again, more than likely, this is going to be turned over to a winter storm warning. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets pulled just a little bit further north if that snow decides to make it that far north, as particularly the heavy snow. And just one other thing to note as we get into Wednesday night here are the wind gusts. So it looks like on top of some of the snow, we're going to be seeing wind gusts at 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. Now, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to winter storms, that's really not all that high. But when you're dealing with the moderate to heavy snows and you add some 30-mile-per-hour winds on it, obviously the visibilities will reduce rather drastically. So keep that in mind as we're talking about this snowfall that's going to be occurring, that we're going to be seeing some gusty winds with it as well. So that's not going to help the situation. Now, some of those breezier conditions will persist into Thursday afternoon. Here you can see 25 to 30. So that's probably going to continue to create at least some drifting out there and keep those roadways very slippery. As we get into Thursday night, finally those winds begin to slack off. And then just to reiterate with my last video is once that system moves out, we really don't have much going on into the weekend. Perhaps by Sunday evening, Sunday night, we might have a little weak system that'll bring some light snow across the region, but nothing too significant. So there's kind of your timing of things with this next storm system. And just kind of keep in mind with this that some of these areas, like I said previously in the beginning of this video, is that York could start off with very light snow, and then all of a sudden, just like that, it's going to come down and it's going to accumulate very fast. So just keep that in mind as you get particularly through the overnight hours Wednesday night and into the very early parts of Thursday morning, that some of the snow could accumulate rather quickly, where we're talking 1 to 3 inches in an hour. So that is really fast. You're going to see those big fat flakes coming down. And then on top of that, maybe some of those 25 to 30 mile per hour winds. So it's going to change the conditions very rapidly. So if you have any travel plans down into South Dakota, particularly southeast South Dakota and southern Minnesota, just keep an eye on that weather, and you might want to make alternate plans with it as well. All right, everybody. Just if you wouldn't mind, hit the subscribe button down below. That way, you know I've uploaded a video just like this, and it keeps you informed. You also keep you informed when I'm on live and covering some of these larger winter storm warnings or winter storm events. You'll notified when I'm on live for severe storms in the summertime. That seems like a long way off right now, but we'll talk about it just because, I'm already looking forward to summer, honestly. So I'm tired of the snow. And otherwise, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up button. I would appreciate that very much. And if you haven't done so already, let me know where you're from down in the comments. Leave a comments down below. Guys, it's been boring in the comments. Leave some comments, talk to me. At least tell me what you've been up to. Let me know you're still there. That would be great. All right, everybody. For Region Weather Live, I am meteorologist Brad Warner. Everybody, have a good day.